It is I, the Poptimist, and today we have Joe Birmingham.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show, dude.
It's good to be back. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been there's been a global pandemic.
Yeah, pandemic
since we last seen each other.
Lots of things.
But yeah, before we got started, we were just talking about this place, which is Peg Studio, Kneecat. So all of the episodes now get broadcast on TV as well.
Oh wow, okay.
So it's like public access, local TV, and of course I still throw them up online and on the socials and all that shit. But it's amazing, dude. Like, this is truly a special place.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell as many people as possible.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Because the other beautiful thing, if you become a member here, you have access to the big studio out there as well. And if you wanted to do something musically, you can.
Yeah.
You can film everything, and there's not too many rules. The only ones are no hate speech. Obviously. And no below the belt nudity.
I can kind of,
if you can pertain to those,
I think that'd be fine.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a real interesting place. I just kind of stumbled upon it last year. But how have things been going with you? You kind of mentioned that you're playing still down on Broadway. You're kind of doing more of the day shift thing.
Yeah, I'm down there 5 days a week, which is great. I'm super blessed and fortunate to have a really set schedule with like a really great band and but yeah, mostly just doing day gigs, and then like I've got like 1 6 to 10 on a Wednesday night, and but it's all like everything I'm doing. It's just been so like great that like I don't have to like pick up an absurd amount anymore. I don't have to like be down there 80 hours a week, and I'm very blessed in that. And then starting to kind of get my feet in the session world a little bit more, and just post pandemic kind of just shifted my view because I was touring with this guy kind of part-time and then mostly still doing downtown. And after the pandemic, I was kind of like, man, my heart is not into this right anymore.
Playing or
no, the touring, the touring aspect of it. Just it just it was hard juggling. The like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think since the last time I've been here. Yeah, I've been married. I got married.
Yeah.
Bought a house. Like, I've got a dog. So it's like all this life stuff has come up, and just trying to juggle it all was getting to be too much. And I was like, man, I gotta cut something out. And I was just like, you know what, And the wife kind of was like, if you don't have to go on the road, then why? I'm like, yeah, it's true, And so I just been doing mostly the downtown thing, and just trying to get my feet into the session world whenever it pops up. So
hell yeah. Are your gigs, are they mainly like country gigs, or are you playing Pink Pony Club? Like,
yeah, that gets pulled out from time to time. I mean, people request it, and it's a fun song to play, honestly. I don't care what anyone will say about it. It's that I haven't listened to the rest of the Chapel's record, but like when that comes on, I'm like, yeah, this is what the kids call a bop. No, but like my morning shift that I do, I'm over at Nudie Tonky Tonk Wednesday through Sundays in the mornings, and we used to do a lot of country. We still do a lot of country, but a lot of the country requests we get for the most part are like 90s and early 2000s country.
Sure.
We've been getting like a lot of like Tyler Childers. Tyler Childers, yeah. I almost call him Chowders for some reason. Tyler Childers, we've been getting a lot of requests of that, like some of the Texas guys like Cody Jinks and stuff. But we've actually been kind of shifting a little bit of like our set list since the beginning of the year, and we were like, hey, let's like dive more into like classic rock, southern rock, and like a little more blues influence. See how the people respond to it, and if we're still keeping the bar happy, then we'll kind of do that whole thing. And so far it seems to be going good, no complaints, and we're making money, and the bar seems to be making money, so it's
How long have you been here for now?
15 years. Hold on. Got here, yeah, 15 years.
Okay. And how long have you been playing down on Broadway for?
Probably 13 and a half, 14.
Okay. How have you noticed it change from the time that you got here until now? Either with demographics or like song selection? Have you seen anything like that change?
Yeah, for sure. You know, there's still places obviously you can go to like Roberts and stuff like that are doing just strictly old school traditional country. And there's places like AJ's that does like a lot of like 90s, early 2000s country bands. But yeah, the whole demographic of the street has changed. I mean, it's a completely different animal from when I moved here. Like when I moved here, like, you know, they were legit just honky tonks, you know, and the base pay at these places was like kind of meh, but like so you know kind of push the whole tip jar thing, and usually you kind of, you know, come out doing all right. And obviously too, you know, 15 years ago the cost of living in Nashville was stupid cheap, which helped, you know. Like I think when I moved here, I had 2 roommates and we had a 3-bedroom apartment, and the 3-bedroom 2-bath apartment was like $900 a month.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is insane to
And it was
think
like in
about.
a decent part of town too. It wasn't like we were like.
What part of town was it?
It was in South Nashville.
Okay.
Like right where like Thompson Lane turns into Briley Parkway.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know exactly where that is.
You know, it wasn't in a terrible part of town or anything. Like it was, you know. But yeah. So, you know, it's become more corporate, but the upside is the pay has gotten better. Like the base pay for most clubs has substantially gone up.
What was the base pay when you first got here?
It depended where you're playing. Like if you were playing at Tootsie's, you were probably making like $40 base pay, which I think it's still
it's like
$40 base pay
yeah,
still.
Yeah.
The Legends circuit, like Legends Corner, Stage, Second Fiddle, what used to be Crossroads, but it's now Hank Jr.'s bar. They paid a little bit better, and I've always enjoyed anytime I've gotten to play with or at those venues, just because the owners and management very much like it's a whole different animal. Like Tootsie's has always been like a kind of very toxic place, and I got in there in that world, did it, was cool to get my feet wet. And once the people I played with there got phased out, I was like, all right, I want to play at all the other places. This isn't the spot for me.
That's what I've always kind of heard.
Yeah.
About the Tootsie circuit is it was a little bit more of a.
It's a little greasy.
Yeah. It's what you imagine when people talk about the music business for it to be.
Exactly.
So do you have like a pedal board that you bring with you, or what do you have on that pedal board?
Right now, it's pretty simple. I just got a Pedal Train Nano, so it's literally just a tuner, a Big Meth fuzz pedal, and then an Aguilar Tone Hammer DI. And I just like the Tone Hammer because a lot of the stuff I'm doing now is in-ears, so it kind of gives me like almost like an amp control on the in-ears as far as like dialing in my sound and everything. So,
what brand of in-ears do you use?
KZs. They're the ones you can get off Amazon.
Yeah, that's what everyone always says.
They're like $40, and I'm like, all right. Like I used to have like, you know, $500-$600 in-ear monitors, and they just kept dying like really quick. And I'm like, this is too expensive to be dying this quick. And then like a buddy of mine's like, did you ever try the KZs? I'm like, no. And I ordered a pair. I was like, for $40, these sound really good, and they, you know, they make a decent enough seal, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, you know, they die, throw them away, order a new pair.
Yeah,
you know, I always have like, it's like permanently in my Amazon cart.
yeah, just ready to reorder,
just in case something goes wrong. It's like, all right, let's get a backup set, or if they're ever doing sale, I'll get notices. If they're doing sales, I'll be like, all right, let's order like 3 sets for right now, and then we should be good for like a year and a half.
Yeah. I'm about to order some KZs. We were just talking before I got started here. I'm about to buy a bunch of different gear. I'm so excited to be kind of getting back to playing again. But I've never really been like a hardcore gear guy per se. Like I feel like I've always been very particular in what I've liked. I got my P bass. I have a Mustang bass. You know those JMJ signature models that they have?
No.
The Mustang. So it's Justin Melville Johnson, and he was like the bass player for Beck.
Okay.
He's produced a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
Was a session guy.
Yeah.
But it's Daphne Blue, dude. It's such a cool bass. I like short scales. Not all bass players do, but I fucking love them. So I'm really looking forward to just playing more, and I've been learning songs at a pretty high clip rate, and my playing is so fucking out of shape.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, it bounces back quick. I'll say that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I remember coming back after the pandemic, and like, you know, that was only a year of like I mean, I was still playing, tinkering around at home and stuff, but I remember like getting called for a gig. I'm like, yeah, all right. And like I look at the set list, I'm like, cool, this is stuff I've been playing the whole time. And like they kicked off like Check Yes or No by George Strait, and I was just like, fuck. Like, here's a song I've played almost every day for, at that point, like 10 plus years, and I'm just like, I don't remember it. You know, I'm like, how did I forget that? How did I forget that? And but then they'll be like, you know, I went to a gig where like they call it Africa, and I'm like, yeah, I remember that note for note. I'm like, what the hell?
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. What is the craziest thing you've ever seen down on Broadway, like while you were on stage, like out in the audience?
The crazy, I guess this one, yeah. So the craziest thing I've ever seen was, I remember, I think it was before the pandemic. I was playing at Crossroads, and it was like a Friday or Saturday night, and this guy, he's at the bar with his wife, and like, so if you've never been to Nashville and you've never been to Crossroads, which you can't go now because it doesn't exist anymore. You walk in, as soon as you walk in, the stage is right there to your right hand side, and then there's a bar right there. And he was kind of at the corner of the bar with his wife, and so they're maybe 6-8 feet away from me, not very far. And he gets the bill and ends up slapping her in the face.
Slapping his wife in the face?
Yeah. Like in front of a room full of people.
Was he hammered?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know if he
Did people just immediately beat his ass?
Well, he stormed off before, like, it happened so fast that we were all like, what the fuck just happened? Like, you know.
Do you remember what song you were playing?
No, I don't. But, you know, but yeah, he yeah, it was like, oh my God, like I've seen a lot of things from stage perspective in my time, but like to see someone like room full of people just be like, yep, we're going the domestic violence route tonight. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how? I mean, yeah, drinks downtown are expensive, but like, why?
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, he stormed out of the bar, and like the sound person went and got the door guy, and everybody checked on her, and yeah, I don't know whatever became of all of it, because she ended up like disappearing too eventually. But I was just like, damn, man. Like, but we were like, me and like, you know, it was like me, drummer, guitar player, and then like girl singer, the boys in the band. Like, she was like ready to verbally chew him out, and the rest of us were ready to like hop off stage and take him outside and take care of business. You know, but like, yeah, that's probably the craziest thing that like to this day, like I still have flashbacks. I'm like,
well, if he
like PTSD
does something that confidently out in the open, imagine what he does behind closed doors.
Exactly.
That's what's truly scary about that.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
It's horrific anytime you witness something like that in person.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, people get fucking crazy here, dude.
They do.
They feel so they feel the same way I think that they feel about Vegas. Because you got to think, people are saving up their money. They're going on vacation in Nashville. They come here and they feel like they can. And there's a lot of people who just come here to have a good time.
Yeah.
That's most people. But there are other people that come here and they do all the things that they normally don't get to do at home.
Exactly. I mean, in a town full of musicians, drugs are more accessible. Like, there's aspects where they're like, hey, let's, do a couple of lines and then go downtown. It's like, where like, Monday through Friday, they're probably like an accountant.
Yeah.
And they get to let their proverbial hair down now in Nashville. And
well, the thing that I always noticed when I was doing Uber and Lyft is you pick up a car full of 4 dudes here for a bachelor party, and they're sniveling the whole way down.
Yeah.
On a 10-minute car ride.
You boys got a sinus infection? What's up?
Yeah, you guys sick? What's going on? But yeah, it psychologically it is interesting because people just feel like they can, and you especially mix that with alcohol and other drugs. Because people do get fucking arrested here all the time. All the time on vacation. But it is wild to see. I've been here now. It'll be 10 years this August.
Oh wow.
Which is hard to fucking believe, dude. I became an adult here.
Yeah, same.
I was 23 when I moved here. You were probably around the same age.
Yeah, I was 23 going on 24.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not far off.
But it's been crazy to watch Nashville, and it was already underway when I came here.
Yeah.
But to see it become like it's a brand now.
Like
people associate Nashville with music, with partying, with being able to do whatever you want.
Yeah. With party buses and pedal taverns.
Pedal taverns, yeah.
But
just fucking scooters.
Yeah, God, that's okay. So I don't like. I mean, I understand the business of it, and I'm not going to, like, knock the people who started doing the pedal taverns. Hey, whatever, you found a niche, you're making money. That's awesome. It does suck when, like, I pull out of the garage, and I'm, like, stuck behind a pedal tavern, and, like, the light turns green, and it takes them, like, 5 minutes to get through the light, and I'm like, pedal faster. Fucking pedal. But, yeah, those damn, like, Bird and Lime scooters and all that stuff, like, they are annoying. That's a crazy thing I saw. It wasn't gig related. I was driving to my morning gig, and this dude, I'm on Demumbrian headed towards like Music City Center and 4th Ave, like towards the Skirmerhorn, and he's on the sidewalk riding this thing, and he's got his phone out, and he's like making a like TikTok or something, and he ends up like hitting a pebble or something and eating shit and flying face first into the concrete. I was like, I should probably stop and check, but I gotta get to work, man. And like I look in the rear view and I see like people who are walking, like go and check. I'm like, all right, somebody was there.
There's other good citizens who are helping him.
He's fine. I will do something later today to like, be a good person, but now's not the time.
I saw just probably like a week and a half ago, there was a lady riding one of those scooters right outside the Omni.
Yeah.
And there is like a light pole.
I think is it in the front or the back side?
Well, it's where the like the carport is to where you could pull up.
Yeah.
So it was just to the right of that. Yeah. And I just hear a loud metal clinking sound, and I look over and I see this lady just on the ground. And she's like doesn't know what just happened. Yeah. And there's 2 dudes that were with her, and they both like stopped and helped her, and she popped right back up, put her hat on. She had one of those cowboy Nashville. Hats. It wasn't even a cowboy hat. It was like one of those fucking I'm really cool East Nashville hats. You know what I'm talking about? So she put that back on, and she got up. Like, I don't know if she had a concussion or not.
Probably.
Yeah. But it's like you see that shit all the time. I saw another person that hit a bus when I was driving.
Jesus.
Like, was driving, and I was here on the street, and then right to the right of me there was a bus like right in front of me.
Like a public bus?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
damn.
just like a city bus. Yeah. And there was probably like 6 feet of space between us.
Yeah.
I think I might have been on like 4th Avenue or 5th. And guy zoomed between it. He looked like he had to be like 22. Yeah. He was drunk and fucked up, and he like hit it, but he just kept going. He was fine. Yeah. But I was like, damn, that could have been really bad.
Oh yeah.
that bus could have fucked you up.
Oh yeah, especially if the light had turned green and that thing started rolling. Like, oh yeah, so many things can go wrong. It seems, but
it's like Final Destination, dude. I feel like it's Final Destination with alcohol. People don't realize how close they are to death. I remember.
The issue is people are getting people born in 2004 are legal to drink alcohol. They don't know what Final Destination is. They're not millennials. They didn't live through that terror when they were kids. They don't, when they see a truck with like logs or like pipes or anything, be like, I'm gonna get in the next lane because I know what happens. You know?
Yeah. It's definitely a different world, and I feel like half the time too, people are doing shit and they're taking TikToks and videos of themselves being in Nashville.
Yeah, they're trying to be
fucking unaware of their surroundings.
Exactly. Everyone's trying to be an influencer, which, I mean, you know, I'm guilty of, like, I post on my Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube page. Like, I'll post videos from either like at Nudies, we have a live stream, so I'll go back on the YouTube feed and like screenshot some videos. Like if it was something I was like, all right, we did something really cool that day. Let's share that with the world, you know. But like, yeah, it's just like, guys, we're not all influencers.
Well, I feel like what's going on now, we were talking about this too. AI, I think is amazing. I think it's such a great tool, but it also legitimately scares the fuck out of me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think that the workforce is about to change drastically over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Because we're right at the doorstep of mainstream usage of AI.
Yeah.
Like it is just starting to go mainstream. A lot of corporations, they're implementing it now.
Oh, yeah.
Small businesses are just starting to think about it. But there's huge security risk that come along with it as well, because any of the free versions of AI that you use, that's all open source. Like if you were to tell it open source wise, all of your info, like this is what I'm doing for my. If you have a paid version, it doesn't do this. So if you're paying for ChatGPT, whatever, technically it's not supposed to do that. But yeah, there can be all these cyber criminals out there that just look you up. Like, I don't know if you ever get them, but I get texts all the time that are like, this Amazon package is delivered, USPS wants to deliver.
FedEx.
DMV is the new scam that they're doing.
Yeah, I keep getting texts because I still have a Pennsylvania number, so I keep getting texts like, your car registration with the state of Pennsylvania. I'm like, motherfuckers, my car hasn't been registered in the state of Pennsylvania in 15 years.
Yeah.
And that car that I had,
long gone.
It's probably in a junk pile somewhere. Like, you know, it's like, nice try. Nice try.
Yeah. I got one because I have a Colorado number from when I lived out there. And I got the same thing. It was like your Easy Pass. You have unpaid tickets. You have to. And I was like, there's not even, I haven't been to Colorado in over 10 years.
Yeah.
So there's no way. And I never had a car in Colorado either.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's the scams are starting to get more and more complex.
Oh, yeah.
I think because you got to think now, all of these people that do these digital crimes, they have access to all of the same tools.
Oh, yeah.
That we have. And what's to stop someone really smart from making an evil version of AI? You know what I mean? It's kind of like a gun if you really think about it. You can use a gun for protection, or you could use a gun to walk into a school and shoot it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, it's... I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I'm like, guys... AI seems like, obviously, it's the way of the future. It's the way the world's going. But, like, didn't anyone stop and watch the James Cameron films, like Terminator 2? Like, can we, like, reassess this? Because that didn't turn out well for humanity. And, you know, I don't think, hopefully it won't get to that point, but I don't want it to. Like,
dude, I think what it's going to turn into, it's going to be over the course of the next 20 years. And I hate to be a pessimist because I'm very optimistic in a lot of ways, but I think we're going to turn into a society, at least in major cities, that's somewhere between Blade Runner and RoboCop.
I can see that.
You know,
I can see that.
I just think that
Yeah.
what's going to happen is, what's really funny is that we were always kind of told that AI was going to come along. It was going to replace all the blue collar jobs, and all those people were going to be.
No,
it's going to happen eventually.
But we are so far as like and all these like companies. I know like Tesla was like, yeah, we got a robot, and then it's like it can't even walk up a flight of stairs. Okay, like
it's going to take time.
If you're a carpenter, that thing's not taking your job anytime soon. You'll probably be retired by the time that takes your job. But yeah, it's I think, the way the world's going to shift, it's going to be, like you said, a lot of the white-collar jobs, like we were talking before the show, like paralegals, who knows if, like you said, like a lawyer might not need a team of, like, 6 paralegals anymore when working a case.
You just need one.
Yeah, or if that.
Yeah.
Or they'll just have the one be like, hey, look all this stuff up for me. And they'll be like, okay. And they'll have, like, what would take days of scouring through legal books and the internet and whatever, other resources they have to just, like, 30 minutes later has, like, yeah, here's everything you need.
Well, the other thing I think to keep in mind is, like, a lot of older people, they see the AI and they see all of that, and they're like, well, I still want to deal with a human. And I personally do. Like, I want to be able to get someone on the phone and talk to them. But I feel like a lot of people our age and younger, they don't really care about that at all.
No.
If they can pay a little bit more and not have to talk to a human being, they will.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, to a degree, like, I'm kind of, like, 50-50 with that. Like, there's some things where I'm like, no, I'd rather call and deal with a person. But, like, you bet your ass, though, when I go to Walmart and buy my groceries, like, I've got my headphones on, I go to the self-checkout lane, I'm like, I don't want to talk to a living soul. But yeah, so it's like kind of that living the duality aspect of it, where, like, there's if I can do certain things where I don't have to interact with people, I'm okay with it.
Well, I feel like things are gonna go back to being similar to the way they were during COVID, as far as, like, the customer service experience. I think
I feel like a lot of it hasn't changed. Like,
no, it hasn't.
Also, too, you have, like, all those people that were in high school, that were graduating high school or were in college during the pandemic years, and, like, so many of them don't know how to interact. Like, they could not sit here and have a conversation like we are right now, and it's just because of the situation that they were thrown into with the global pandemic. They just it's like so many younger people have lost social skills. And I say younger people like I'm like fucking decrepit old man over here, but, like, I can see certain aspects of, like, as I get older, I'm like, I mean, I'm not always the best when it comes to social situations. One-on-one, yeah, I'm great, but, like, I just got diagnosed with autism. Like, I'm not obviously, I'm high functioning, but, like, I'm like, oh, this makes sense why, like, I don't do well at, like, big music networking events where there's, like, 100 people there, and, like, I don't do well when I have to, like, go to a corporate party or whatever, anything like that, but, yeah, one-on-one, I'm like, yeah, let's have a conversation, let's talk, but yeah, man, it's just like they either didn't get the skills because they're at home, or it's because so many of these kids and younger people now, like, you go out to a restaurant to eat and you'll see, like, the parents, and what do the kids have? Either phone or tablet, and they're watching a show or playing a game
in their own world.
Yeah, in their own world while they eat. Where, like, when we were kids, like, you had to sit at the table, you had to sit up, you had to, like, behave, you had to, like, learn how to interact, learn how to have a conversation, learn how to, like, have the dynamic of, like, yeah, we're eating, we're talking, we're having a back and forth, where, yeah, now it's just like, no,
it's eroded. I feel like the social contract between people as Americans, it disappeared during COVID.
Yeah.
I think there's a basic, I don't want to say disrespect, I would rather say disregard for other human life that's around you.
Oh yeah. Everybody's their own most important person, which I mean I get like that too, like, but
it's human nature,
yeah, but like I'll make sure, like if I'm at the grocery store or whatever and I'll almost bump into someone, like, oh excuse me, sorry, like make little apologies, like, and just kind of like little things like that are just expected from societal norms, you know. But yeah, man, it's a weird world we live in these days. That's for sure.
Yeah, I will say though, despite it being so fucking weird, and things radically shifted during COVID, I will say that it's never been a better time to like be a human being living in the modern world, because we have all this technology, life expectancy, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is way better than it was. I mean, if you lived in the fucking 1800s and you broke your leg and you were in the middle of the woods, it's just like, well,
chop it off.
Yeah.
Give me a stick.
Yeah, exactly. And it's scary to think about, like, what if the power goes out? What if we get hit by an EMP or a solar flare? Something we can't even control happens. And the same way that we couldn't even control COVID, and it's just this mass suffering that we're all experiencing together. But it's what was bizarre too, like looking back on COVID, it's hard to believe it's been 5 fucking years since that happened.
Yeah, it feels like it was last year still.
Yeah. Everybody just, they went into their own corners and stayed there. It almost was like society was like, we're only doing prison rules now, American society.
Yeah.
But everybody also wants to be protected and feel safe. And safety truly is just an illusion, I think. I don't think there's any such thing.
I mean, you can set things up in your life to be as safe as you can be, but something is if something's going to go wrong, it's inevitable, or if like, so I speaking of the pandemic, back at the end of the pandemic, like with being out of playing, and then like at the time I was working at FedEx, I was unloading trucks, and I was just miserable. And
back to the true grind.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much like I didn't care about unloading the trucks. Like, yeah, it was physically demanding, but I was like, all right, like I don't mind doing stuff like that. I think it was just like more so the fear of like, am I ever going to play again full time? Is this ever going to be my job again? Am I ever going to do this? Am I ever going to do that? So it's just, I guess, more the unknown. But towards the end of the year, my wife was like, all right, it's been pretty hard on you this year. Like, I mean, it was pretty hard. It was hard on her too. She got furloughed from her job. She's a corporate recruiter, and actually she used to work at the Omni. She was furloughed too, but was fortunate enough to get like contract work in her field, and that kind of helped keep us afloat. And then whatever I made from FedEx was just extra money going into the bank. And so she was like, you've been pretty miserable this year. What's something you've always wanted to learn, but you never had the time to learn? I was like, well, I always wanted to do Krav Maga. And for anyone who doesn't know, Krav Maga is Israeli mixed martial arts. It's a purely defensive fighting style. It's not a competition-based fighting style. This is like, for the streets kind of thing.
If someone is coming up with you and fucking with you, you can end it, basically.
Yeah. And she's like, all right. And I had like 3 gigs that were music related at the time. And I was at my gig, and I had a call from a number that I didn't recognize, so I just sent it to voicemail, and I get out of my gig, check the voicemail, and it's like, hey, this is so-and-so from Nashville, Krav Maga. Like, your wife had reached out to us and said you were really interested in, coming in. We got you scheduled for Monday.
Oh, shit.
at 8 a.m.
She was like, okay, you want to do it, motherfucker? You're about to do it now.
And here I am 5 years later still doing it, and I love it, but I'll say, like, from learning that, situational awareness, like we were talking about earlier. Like when I walk around downtown, like, or just anywhere really,
Head on a swivel.
Yeah, heads on a swivel. Like, so we have this. There's different stances in martial arts. Like, so you have your passive stance, which is just you standing, and then there's the stance called passive tactical, where like one of your feet, you're standing normal, one of your feet's just slightly in front of the other one, so you could just be ready to burst in a moment's notice. And then there's your fight stance. But I noticed, like, I'll be standing on the street corner, getting ready to, waiting for the cross, and I'm standing in like, anytime I'm standing now, it's in a passive tactical stance. Like, my brain's always like, no, like, we're going to be slightly ready just in case, in case either we need to bolt and run or someone starts some shit, we're going to be ready, and yeah, do I feel a bit more safety now from having done this stuff for a couple of years and moving up the ranks? And yeah, it's a really very helpful in that aspect, but there's still also the knowledge of like things can still go sideways, Well,
someone could pull out a knife, someone could pull out a gun.
Well, luckily I'm learning how to take care of that too.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. I'm finally reached the level where it's like, hey, you're not in basic Krav Maga anymore. You're going to learn how to, like, okay, someone puts in, like, last night I was at Krav and we were working on if someone puts a knife to your throat, how to get out of it and take the knife away.
Damn.
Yeah. Or someone puts a gun to your head, how to get out of it, take it away.
How has it changed you in general? I know you mentioned, like the passive stance, but is there any way that it, like, changed the way you think about life or you think about the world?
Oh yeah, it's kind of helped me get back to a place mentally. It's helped me in a lot of ways, but it helped me get back to a place mentally that I used to be in when I was young, and that got kind of lost somewhere along the way with the ups and downs of the industry and everything, and kind of retaught me how to, like, all right, I want to accomplish this. Okay, how do I get there? Because it's kind of the same deal. Like, I want to get my black belt in this. Okay, well, how do I get there? You keep showing up. You keep doing the classes. You take the tests every year and every quarter, and you move up in your you get the next belt, and then within the next belt, every quarter you're doing a rank test to move up to your different degree on that belt, and then you're testing for another belt. And like the beginning of this year, I was like, man, I really want to get back into weightlifting. I want to get back into strength training because I don't want to feel weak, and like just reading all this stuff about like health and wellness, and like,
you look good, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I can tell you've lost some weight. I know it's been several years since we've seen each other.
Yeah,
but you look happy and healthy, dude.
Thank you. I am. I'm in a very good place, and I'm very blessed, and so I just was like, I want to start fucking lifting again, because everything I've been reading was basically like, the key to longevity, everyone thinks, is cardiovascular exercise, like running, all that stuff. And they're finding more and more, like, no, strength training is where it's at. Like, if you have strong legs, you're going to live a long time because you can still walk, you can still get around, you can walk upstairs, and because it doesn't, if you're mobile, your life expectancy will be higher because you can go out. You can go do things. You can see people. You're not trapped in the confines of your home. So
bedridden.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I'm like, all right, like, Monday's legs. Tomorrow morning, I'm probably gonna go ahead and do chest and triceps. Sunday morning's back and biceps. I'll do my weight training those days, and then my mixed martial arts Monday, Tuesday, and then the rest of the week is whatever I can when I can. I'm like, all right, that's like 4 or 5 days stacked. So I'm like, we're good.
Well, you have to take, I think, almost like a stoic nature with anytime you're doing something that requires discipline like that.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, is that I'm trying to like learn, and is kind of that stoicism of just like, be the best version of myself that I can be.
Hell yeah.
And do whatever it is, like whether it's career, my marriage, and like, yeah, I'm so grateful for the people I train with and for my instructors, like I've been through some heavy shit over the last couple of years, and they've always been, you know, it's like they become almost like family to me. You know, like I've got my musician friends, like I've got the ones that are like my ride or die musician friends, where it's like, yeah, we're not just
you're down
like,
in the trenches.
Yeah, like we're a musical family. Like it's the people that, you know, like they get you and they get the kind of music you want to play, and because they're on the same wavelength, you know.
It's sacred.
Yeah, and then doing this martial arts thing. Yeah, it got me back into discipline. It got me back into just working hard for my goals. It got me back into, like, I was thrown into a situation where I'm so used to most of the people I interact with are in the music industry. So there's that common thread to like start a conversation or something where now I'm like, so what do you do for a living? Oh, you're a tax attorney. That's cool. I play bass. You know, and you know, like it's just funny because some of the people I train with, they're like, man, your job must be so cool. I'm like, and in my mind I'm like, it's my job. You know, it's like, I mean, it is. Don't get me wrong, it is. I love that I get to play music and I get paid to do it, but like, it's my job. It's my skill set. It's like a carpenter. Like, you know,
it's what you know how to do and what you've been training your whole life to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, it's so awesome. You know how to make, cabinets. I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I went to school for.
Well, I think people, when they have really nothing to do with music or the music business, they have an impression of it that's not necessarily reality.
Yeah.
Where the only time where it is glamorous is when you're on stage.
Yeah.
Everything else is a fucking grind.
Yeah, it's a grind.
Like you're arguing with bookers, trying to make sure you don't get fucked on a gig, whatever it might be, getting musicians organized, which can be like herding fucking cats.
Yeah.
Making sure everybody's schedule's lined up.
Yeah.
Or it's late nights and sometimes early mornings. Like I wish I could tell you, like it is nice to be able, those mornings you can sleep into like 10 or noon or whatever because you were out all night. But it's like when you get up, you still got to do normal life too.
Still got to do your laundry. Still got to go grocery shopping. You got to pay your bills. You know, you got to do all that shit. Yeah, I mean, but I love that. From going there, I'm like, oh, I know how to be a person again, not just a musician, but a person, just a human being, and relearned how to connect with people and like other things, like, oh, like you're really into fucking Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, cool, me too.
Yeah,
let's talk, like, so it's definitely if you or anyone listening is on the fence about like, hey, I want to learn a martial arts style, and like obviously I'll be like, yeah, go check out Nashville Krav Maga. They have a location in Nashville, Hermitage, Columbia, Murfreesboro, and Brentwood. So wherever you live in the Nashville area, you're probably bound to see one. They're amazing people. Definitely highly recommend them. But if you're like, oh, I really want to learn jiu-jitsu, do it. Just do it. Like, it's one, great for your body, two, great for your mind, and you'll just feel enriched with it.
Dude, I honestly, I do need to do something. I feel like the level of discipline that I had in my 20s, I don't have right now.
See, that's where I was.
Yeah, where it's like I'm starting to get busy with a bunch of different shit again. Like the podcast has come back around, and then music is coming back around. And I'm very fortunate in this situation where I live, and like I actually live pretty close to here.
Oh, nice.
I know. Yeah, you had kind of mentioned that too. But my rent is cheap. I live on my own.
There you go.
But I'm just like, what do I do? Because I feel like the hardest thing is either when you're starting something or you've been away from it for a while and you're starting back up again.
Yeah.
It's once I'm in it, I'm fine. Like I can't.
But getting that ball rolling again.
I hate the in-between transition when you're trying to live in both worlds.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I just need to fucking leap into whatever's next and get blindsided, because I can deal with being punched in the face. I can deal with being beat up and life coming at me. But it's hard when, like, mentally, when you're between those two spots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
either I'm comfortable or I'm getting my ass kicked.
Yeah.
It's like it's a 1 or a 0.
Yeah.
It can't be both.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like there's that saying, like, was it hard times make hard people, soft times create soft people, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I'm in a very fortunate place where, like, yeah, my life's pretty soft right now, but I still try to keep that mentality of, like,
Well, you're still sharpening iron.
yeah, exactly. And it's just that, like, no, like, yeah, it's soft. Things are great now, but we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Well, there's a difference between, I think, being soft and your life being comfortable. Like, the biggest thing I can tell about you right now is you just have a sense of peace that I've never seen you have before.
Yeah. No,
And go ahead.
Oh no. Well, I was. Yeah. I'm very lucky. Like, I met my wife 7 years ago, and, you know, within 3 months of dating her, I knew, I was like, all right, I want to marry this lady. You know, I want to marry her. And, you know, but being with her, because she is such a positive human, and, like, obviously she has her rough days too, but, like, she just brings such positive energy. Like, she's always trying to help. Like, since we lived in the neighborhood we live in, we've rescued like 20 dogs.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we've rescued like 20 abandoned dogs, and, like, have helped animal control, like, catch them. You know, like, there was this pack of, like, pit bulls that got dumped because, like, the road leading up to our development, like, at the end of that road, it's a semicircle, and it's just a dead end, and there's, like, farms back there, and so people a lot of times will go back there and dump their dogs.
That's so fucking dark, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And so there was this, like, pack of, like, pit bulls that was, like, just running around our neighborhood for, like, 6 months, and
They were just chilling.
yeah, and they didn't really bother anyone, and, like, we were constantly trying to, like, lure them in, and we were putting out food and water and stuff, and, like, we would wake up in the morning sometimes, and they would just all be, like, laying in a pile on our front step. Like, they knew, like, this was a safe
These
place.
are friends.
Yeah, this was a safe place. You know, and eventually, like, we started being able to, like one of them, I think, yeah, he had gotten hit by a car and passed, which was sad. That tore my wife up real bad. But, like, we were eventually able to, like, start catching them. Either they were, like, trusting us and we could, like, put hands on them, or we had reached out to, I forget the woman's name, but she works a lot with animal control, and, like, she brought, like, over, like, some actual, like, traps, and, like, we set up traps, and, like, you know, we're just, like, waiting, like, sitting in the upstairs looking at the trap in our front yard, like, do it. Like, you know, and most of the dogs have gone on to have good homes, and we're like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, like, so, you know, stuff like that. Like, I remember, like, when we were first dating, she picked up 2 homeless dudes, and, you know, was like, come with me, I'm gonna get you a job.
Damn.
And, yeah, like, tried to get them a job at Omni, and, like, they had some criminal records, and so, like, she sent him over to Martin's Barbecue across the street and was like, hey, go talk to Pat Martin. He's always hiring. It's a restaurant. Turnover rate is crazy. It's going to be a shit job, but it's going to be a job.
Yeah.
And that'll hopefully help you change your situation. There's people to this day that still reach out to her, and, like, you know, so having someone like that, just, it impacted me so much, you know, and it really, you know, she really brings out the best of me, which is an amazing thing to have. You know, she's just this positive light, and she's helped me come back to God and faith and things like that, and you know, so it's been a really awesome journey. You know, there's been obviously pandemic and other things too that have been just bumps in the road, you know, that
Well, it's nice to go home at the end of the day and feel like you got someone in your corner no matter what.
Exactly. You know, and that's what I'm very fortunate to have. Is just, and she's just, you know, she's just always there for me no matter what. And I can't, like, you know, I can't be thankful enough for what I've been given in this life.
Well, the other hard thing I feel like too with dating as a musician, it might seem cool on the surface at first when you meet someone. They're like, "Oh, that's so cool that you do music," but they don't necessarily love the late nights, the work schedules, the bachelorettes, all the shit that comes along with it. You know,
the funny thing is, so before she moved to Nashville, she was a radio personality in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is she from Florida?
She claims to be. Sometimes, depending.
What part of Florida?
Like it was on the Gulf Coast. I don't remember.
Like southern, over by Fort Myers, kind of.
Yeah. Actually, her mom lives in Port Charlotte, which is like right by Fort Myers.
Yeah.
So wasn't far from there. I just can never remember. I'm like, is that central, far, south? Is it north?
Yeah,
I know it's not.
So
I know
it's on the Gulf Coast.
North,
yeah,
but yeah, she worked in the auto industry through high school and college because her dad was a car salesman, and then went to college, got like a media degree, and was working at a radio station, and eventually got her own radio show. And was doing like the country music, like the station. I think she said like they owned a hip hop station, like the mother station owned a hip hop station and a country station, and they're in the same office building.
Yeah,
which is like really like funny, you know, to think about. And you know, she was, her biggest thing like was having interviewed people, having, you know, had to do like the meet and greets and stuff. She's like, I'm never dating a musician, no tattoos. Like everything that I am
you are
like on paper, everything I am is not at all what she was. Like, you know, like when we got together, like my beard was a lot more like closer, and over the years, I've just been like, I really want to grow it out. I really want. She's like, do you really? I'm like, hey, I'll tell you what to do with your hair. I don't have hair on my head. This is all I got, you know. But it was just like, yeah, just everything that I am on paper did not match up with what she wanted. But it was just that once we, you know, went on a date and got to know each other and like actually talked, and she was like, okay, like
it
you're
meshed.
not. Yeah, she's like, because she got it. She's like, okay, you're a professional musician. You're not trying to be a rock star. I'm like, no, like I'll go up on stage and I'll pretend to be a rock star, but I don't want to be a fucking rock star. Like,
well, again, it's like I was saying, the only glamorous time is when you're on stage, playing that role, and it's fun to do that. But it's like everything else, it's like you're fucking sitting down writing charts.
Writing charts, learning tunes. Like
trying to get ready.
Going to the gym, trying to, you know, buy groceries, do whatever. It's like, and I think too, like, so we met on Bumble. So if y'all are on dating sites, just know that there can be some hope, and it can work if you find the right person. And
a success story.
A success story. Which I feel like in general, just in the dating world, the fact that we've been together for 7 years and we survived a pandemic. Because I know so many people that are like, were together, engaged, or married, that are like
split up,
and I'm just like, hey, babe, we're doing good. We're doing good. The bills are paid. The dogs are fed.
We're eating.
We're still married. Life is good, you know.
It's honestly really nice to hear that perspective, because I feel like I can be so negative about dating in general.
Well, I mean,
and I have a very negative view of human nature. And don't get me wrong, I'm a flawed human being. I definitely have a lot of flaws, but it's it's refreshing to hear your story and your experience with that.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't help too. Like, the dating scene in Nashville is a fucking cesspool. Like, you know, and like,
Vietnam.
Yeah, I got so many friends who are still going through it, and I'm just like, God. Like my wife asked me a hypothetical once of like, hey, if like we ever broke up, I'm like, are we okay? Is everything okay? Did I do something? She's like, no, we're fine. But she's like, hypothetically, if we ever broke up, like, how soon do you think you would date again? I was like, oh, I would never do that again. I was like, nope. She's like, you would never ever want to go out with anyone again. I'm like, as far as I think of, no. Or it'd be like a long time. I would just be focusing on myself and my life and my...
Well, anytime a relationship falls apart, it takes two for that to happen.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like you have to reflect upon like whether you were someone, whether it was just like, hey, this isn't working, and even if it wasn't horrible or bad, you know, or if it was, how did you end up in that situation?
Exactly.
What
choices were made?
Exactly.
You know. Yeah. No. And that's what I'm very thankful for, is that we're both on the same page and we're both working together because we see the common goal of, you know, what we want in our lives. And, you know, so that's just a blessing in itself, you know. So
yeah, it's hard out there for a pimp.
Yeah.
Plus the other thing too, like Broadway is the island of misfit toys. It's whatever indulgence you want to find as a musician, you can find.
It's right there. Oh yeah, no, I know. I've got friends.
In your face, throwing itself at you.
Yeah. Well, I think too that's the upside with me being a bass player is no one was ever interested in the bass player. You know, it was always the lead guitar player, the drummer, and the singer that were getting the girls. And looking back, I'm like, I'm really glad. I'm really, really glad that, like, you know, it just, you know,
shook out the way it did.
Shook out the way it did. Like, although. Side note, I guess. So when I went on my first date with my wife, she said to me, she's like, hey, have you ever played Whiskey Jam? I had just played Whiskey Jam that week. Her best friend was in town. I'm like, yeah, why? And she pulls up a picture, and you see me in the background.
Women are like the FBI, dude.
Oh, yeah. She's like, is that you? I'm like, yep, that is in fact me. You know, and then
that's fucking
she's
hilarious.
Like, she's like, have you ever played at the stage? I'm like, yeah, I play there every Saturday. She's like, in the afternoons? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, we saw you on Saturday too at the stage. You
Damn.
know? Yeah, it's just funny, you know. And then, like, I remember, like, yeah, it was one of her best friends that she worked with at Omni, like, because this was before, like, we were on a first name basis still. This woman, like, I mean, which makes sense. She's in HR, so she knows how to, like...
Oh, yeah. She knows how to do her research.
Yeah. And, like, she had it was like a full fucking portfolio on me by the end of the day. And I was just like, good God, this is terrifying, you know?
She knew your social security number.
Yeah. They're like, all right, he checks out. I'm like, hey, guys.
Nice to meet you.
I met a girl, and all my buddies are like, yeah. You know, like, it's just the difference between men and women. Like, you know, the dudes are just like, awesome.
Well, the weird thing for me now is there's so much, like, there's so many hours of me talking online about everything, about every aspect of my life, about, like, all my experiences, both good and bad.
Yeah.
Times I was right about stuff. Times I was mostly fucking wrong about stuff.
Yeah.
And it's all just out there for anyone to find. So it's kind of a little bit odd. Because now, like, before someone even goes out with me, they can have a really good idea of who
or a really bad idea.
Yeah. But it's like, the thing I'll say is I am myself all the time, whether it's on mic or off mic. Like, if we were just sitting in here, it's the same way to talk to me. So it's like you can get an idea of whether you would like me or not. But it's a weird experience for me because there's definitely been a couple of times where I've gone out with a girl and she's been able to listen to like an episode where I'm talking about like something really traumatic that happened in my childhood that shaped me. And I will never change the way that I do the podcast. Like, this is the way I do it. But it's a weird experience when you feel like someone knows everything about you and you don't really know anything about them at all. Yeah. And it's like they can kind of just tailor themselves, no pun intended, to be whatever it is they think you want.
Exactly. Or they think they know the real you.
Yeah.
When
it's just like a snapshot.
Yeah. That's just a fragment of what makes you who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's made things a little bit weird on the dating front because like you can just Google me, and as soon as you Google me, all this shit comes up, like all the stuff that I do. Yeah. So it's not very hard to like do a background check on me either. Yeah. It's like okay, but yeah, it's been a little bit off-putting in some ways where it's like, well, I don't really want to. I want to share obviously what I do and what I'm passionate about, but it's also weird to just have someone listen in and get to know me without speaking to me. Yeah, because like, dude, the Halloween special that I did, it was fucking insane. Like I don't know if you saw it. It's the best thing I've ever done. Nice. Like from start to finish. But I'm playing more of like an exaggerated version of myself on that. So it's just funny if that's like the first thing that someone sees. They're
like, oh, he's over the top.
Where I'm screaming about putting people inside of gulags for like walking slow inside the grocery store,
Yeah. It's like
which definitely exists in me. Don't get me wrong. Like it's authentically me, but it's just so different when you can actually sit across from someone and talk to them and really understand the nuance of who they are. But nuance is dead. It feels like everything is just branding now, and that's carried over to dating as well. Oh, yeah. And I can't even be a full-on hater because of what we do. The fact that we're in the entertainment industry. It's just a part of what it is. But it's definitely uncomfortable for me. And I feel like I isolate myself a lot, and I'm coming out of that phase where I've been doing that. Yeah. And trying to really challenge myself to do just different things because I do want to go touring because my whole thing, even when I first got to Nashville, I was like, I will never fucking go on the road. I don't give a fuck. That's why I started this podcast. Yeah. Is so one day this shit will be able to basically make it to where I can just do whatever I want all the time musically. That was the goal. Yeah. But as time has gone on, I've just realized I'm a musician. I should embrace the experience of being in Nashville. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great place to cut your teeth. I came into Nashville with what I thought was a vast musical education. Lo and fucking behold, I was wrong. And
because you went to Berkeley.
Yeah. Which, like, it's kind of okay now to say. Like, when I moved to town, you did not I took it off my social media. You didn't tell people.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it like the equivalent of saying you went to Belmont?
Yeah, even Belmont kids. Same deal. They were like, they would not boast about it because there were so many players who weren't, quote unquote, educated in that sense, but they could play your ass under the table any day of the week, So there was like a stigma against all that kind of stuff when I first
being college educated.
Yeah. In the music world, unless you worked in the industry aspect, like the whether it be down on Music Row or
doing publishing, working for a label.
Yeah, music attorneys, like, stuff like that. And you need to go to school for that. But being a player, it was like, well, can you fucking play or not? And it was like when I moved here, the people I met and started cutting my teeth with, that were veteran players, they were kind, but they weren't nice. And I feel like to a degree we've moved away from all that in the industry.
It's a little kinder and a little gentler now.
Yeah, it's nice now. And I'm like, no, we need to bring back, like,
getting your ass handed to you on stage.
Yeah, it is the most best and worst thing that'll ever happen. It's the worst in that, like, for those 5 minutes that you're just railroading that song, you just want to die. Excuse me. Yeah, worst feeling ever. But then, like, that fire that gets lit in you, like, all right.
When you're crying, playing at 2 a.m. at your house, trying to learn a song.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, I'm going to make sure that, like, you know, all these fucking songs that they called, I'm going to know for the next time. And then you call it again, and they call a whole bunch of songs that you didn't know.
It happens again.
It happens again and again and again. But eventually it stops happening as much. Like a buddy of mine, he's a drummer. He's been in town for a long, long time, and like that was one of those gigs. Like when I first met him was one of those gigs where, you know, I was just getting my ass handed to me every week, but they kept calling me because I would know a little bit more every week, you know. And like we still gig regularly. Like, you know, he's one of my first call sub drummers. Anytime my guy's out, I'm like, hey Dave, what are you doing? Can you play this date? Cool. And it's just funny, like, because he's mellowed out with age too. Like he's realized, like, all right, like I was a fucking prick at times, like, you know. But it's just like we'll still talk about that stuff sometimes, where it's like, man, like, you remember when you first came down and, like, you know,
ate shit all the time.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like, so.
But it's sacred in a way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like you gotta, you know. I feel like through the human course of history with music, at least, so much of it has been you're going to get your ass handed to you. And that's the people who can take it and, you know, use that to fuel the fire to get better. You know, obviously they're the ones that
survive
and will keep coming back and keep coming back, you know.
Well, I was talking to Logan Hatcher recently, and he came on the show. But he was basically saying, and I can't remember if he said this on the podcast or off the podcast, but every 6 months, Broadway kind of changes hands.
Yeah.
Because there's always new people coming in.
Yeah, yeah. And there's some people that they just never go away, which is awesome. Like, there are some people that they're like the cornerstone pillars of Lower Broadway. You know, I'm very fortunate. Like, the gig I do at Nudies, I've been on that gig technically since day one of that place opening, which is, I think, going to be 10 years in November.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I've been playing there 5 days a week for 10 years. The first couple years were with this one guy, and then he ended up leaving, and the guy who does the booking was like, hey, said to me and the fiddle player, like, do you guys want to take over? And we're like, all right, sure. And, you know, some things happened. The fiddle player had to leave, so it kind of fell to me. And the booking guy was like, it should have been you the whole time. Like, after so-and-so left, you should have been in charge because you've been here the longest. I'm like, yeah, I just wasn't mentally ready. He's like, well, you mentally ready now? I'm like, no, but I have to be. You know, I got to figure this shit out. He's like, hey, that's the way to do it. You know? He's like, because he started off as just the sound guy at Nudies, and now he's like the, oh God, what's his title? Production manager for the whole, everything that they do, which is Nudies, Show Pony, and there's a bunch of other places and venues that, so he's got to always like make sure like sound equipment's up on, up to par, and, you know, the bands are booked and doing all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, I wasn't not ready to be a production manager when they told me, like, hey, this is what we need you to do. He's like, I was like, no, I'm a fucking sound guy. Like, well, there's a pay increase, and, you know,
we don't have anyone else.
We don't have anyone else, and you've been here, this long, and so
which is the story I feel like of Nashville, that we don't have anyone else and we need you right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it really is. Like, because I mean, I've done some things. Like, there's this country artist, Hannah Dasher.
She's great.
Okay, you know her. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. She does. I'm the one who taught him that thing you like, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know a bunch of her songs.
Yeah. But she's kind of like the old school country,
huge
big hair.
Yeah.
She's like a brunette Dolly, basically.
Yeah. Her whole vibe and sound is like a mix between like 70s country and southern rock, and I fucking love it. And like a couple years ago, I did a filling gig with them, and like, got the call on Monday, and we were driving out Friday morning. And I had to learn the entire set. Luckily, she was gracious and was like, look, if you need charts on stage, like, this is not enough time to, like, memorize all these songs. I'm like, thank God.
How many songs was it?
I think we did, like, 15 songs. It was a solid, like, hour and a half set. And, some of them, like, had some pretty intricate parts. And, like, so I had to get all that under my fingers. But yeah, it was just kind of one of those situations where it was like, I remember getting up for bus call, and I said to my wife, I was like, I don't know if I'm prepared enough. She's like, well, you'll find out. Fucking go. Like,
how anxiety inducing is that, though?
I mean,
it stresses me out personally.
I get stressed out until I step on stage. Like, I remember years and years ago, I was doing kind of another situation where like this, where it was a fill-in thing, and I felt like I did not have enough time to prepare. And I remember texting with a buddy of mine from school before the show. I was like, God, I did not have enough time to like work this shit up, and like I feel like I'm just gonna botch the fuck out of it. And he's like, hey, you're Joe fucking Birmingham. He's from Virginia, and I could just hear, like, reading the text, I could hear his Virginia accent. You're Joe fucking Birmingham. Like, fucking nut up.
You
like,
got this.
Yeah. He's like, they are fortunate to have you in their presence. I was like,
well, you get called for a reason, too.
Yeah. And, like, Hannah actually ended up calling me for CMA Fest. Unfortunately, I was not able to do it. But it was a little CMA Fest showcase. I'm like, God, I would have loved to have done that. Because her music's a lot of fun. And,
yeah, her music's good.
But yeah, it was just, one of those situations of like feeling ill-prepared and then just showing up and doing the thing. And like the first show I did with her, I look out and I don't know if you're familiar with Mark Wills. He was a 90s and early 2000s.
A fiddle player?
No.
Okay.
No. He was a early 90s and early 2000s country artist, which a buddy of mine used to tour. Actually, one of my buddies still tours with him, plays guitar for him, but another buddy of mine used to play bass for him. And I look out, I'm like, fuck, that's Mark Wills. And turns out him and her are best friends. I was like, Christ on a corn dog, don't fuck this up. And first show went great, and I remember after the show, like, I'm packing up my stuff, and he's like, hey, bass player, come here. And I come over, I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, I'm Mark. I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of who you are. And so I told him, I was like, my buddy Dink used to play bass for you. He's like, oh, that motherfucker. I'm like, yeah. And I was like, I think my buddy Johnny's still out with you. He's like, Johnny? He's like, yeah, I know Johnny Beanpole. I'm like, yeah. But he was asking me, I was playing a P bass, and he's like, I gotta, the whole time I was thinking, I had to ask, like, if, I said to my wife, I'm like, I think he's playing a short scale P bass. And then he's like, then you walked up, and I was like, oh no, that's
a normal size P bass.
That's a normal size P bass on an extra large man. All right. And I'm like, yeah, no, I dwarf my instruments, unfortunately, and but it's
How many basses do you have? What basses do you have these days?
I don't have much anymore. I got rid of a lot of shit from the pandemic. One, because of financial needs, and 2, it was just that kind of, all right, what do we really need? So I've got 3 P basses right now that are kind of my 3.
Are they all like actual Fenders? Or are they?
2 of them are Fenders. One of them is a throw together. It's a Fender body. It's a Fender body, Warmoth neck, Fender pickup, and then all the hardware and shit I got off Amazon, so it's probably like Chinese knockoff.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Does the job.
Yeah, that one's my like flat wound bass that, I'm like, all right, I use it for studio purposes, and like, because I wanted a bass with flats, but I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on it because I don't play it all the time.
Yeah.
And then I've got a 2010 American P bass that I got actually off the guy who was playing bass for Hannah that called me. I bought it off him, and that's like how I got the in with that gig. Was like, he's like, hey, you remember that? He's like, you might not remember me, but like, you bought a bass off me like 10 years ago. I'm like, yeah, I fucking remember. I came to your house and checked it out, man. I was like, how you doing? He's like, good. He's like, can you sub for me? I'm like, all right. So I got that, and then I got a 57 reissue P bass.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What color is it?
It's the tobacco or 3-tone.
Does it have the gold anodized pick guard?
Yeah.
Nice.
Unfortunately, it's not. I want to replace it and get like the actual like brass, like metal pick guards, plastic to make it look like it.
Oh yeah.
But I wouldn't mind getting like the real deal, or just find someone who cuts pick guards and be like, hey, can you cut me a brass pick guard for this so it looks.
I really want to do like a parts bass. That'll be a P bass body, jazz bass neck, rosewood fingerboard, and then I'll probably do like a reef-in on it and have it be shell pink.
Yeah.
Because that's my favorite vintage Fender color.
Oh, yeah.
But I love Fender, dude. It's endlessly my favorite. And I'm exclusively a flat wound guy. Like I've played flat wounds for the past 15 years, pretty much 14 years, something like that. And but I'm kind of thinking, I kind of want to get a jazz bass as well and have rounds on it, because I feel like that's just the sound.
Yeah.
But I know my fingers are gonna get ate the fuck up since I've been so used to playing the flats for so long.
Yeah.
Because even that Mustang bass I have, that came stock with flats.
Yeah.
If it didn't, I just would have replaced them with flats.
Because those short scale basses, you want to put flats on.
Yeah, they're super punchy.
Yeah. Yeah, I had flats originally on my 57 reissue. Well, not originally. When it came to me, it had rounds. But I put flats on it. I was like, this is going to be my flat wound bass. I was playing it on all my gigs with flats.
Yeah.
But the issue was just, it was comfortable. It wasn't that. It was just, it came down to like, all right, like, yeah, when we're playing this Janis Joplin tune, that sounds great. But then when we go to play that Journey song after it, it kind of gets lost in the mix.
Yeah.
So I was just like, all right. My 2 main work bases, those will be with round wounds. They're set up almost, which that's the 2010 and the 57. They're like my 2 primary gigging bases. They have almost the same setup on them, the same brand strings.
What strings do you use?
I use DRs right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
DRs are good.
Yeah, it's like I'll use DRs forever, and then I'll try other things, but it's like that. The home base I always come back to. I was using this company, Strings by Aurora, for a long time. They're a really great company based out of Connecticut. They were the ones who, when DR started doing the colored strings, they were the ones making them originally.
Gotcha.
Before DR realized, like, hey, if we send that part over to China, that'll be cheaper.
Because they make all those neon strings and shit.
Yeah. And like the Strings by Aurora, like they have like, I would just get the clear coat because they were coated strings, but it wasn't like Elixirs where it feels like it's plastic.
Yeah. Where it's almost kind of like sticky feeling.
Yeah. It felt just like steel. And I really dug them, and I still have some of their strings on some of my basses. But yeah, I just, for some reason, like, in the last few months, I was like, I haven't played DRs in a while. I threw some DRs back on. I was like, I forgot how much I love these things.
I might start experimenting again with round wounds. If I do, then I want to definitely get a third bass, because the main bass I have, it's my P bass. It's a Japanese reissue from like 03 or 04.
Oh, nice.
It's a 62 reissue, the Jameson year, of course. But I have right now, I have the ashtray pickup cover, and I got just like weather stripping and put some of that on there, so it's muted. But I'm about to pull that shit off.
Yeah.
Especially playing downtown.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like my main bass, like whenever I go out to gig, it's typically going to be that Mustang. But that P bass, I love it. I've been learning songs on that, and it's like, oh yeah, I fucking love P basses.
Oh yeah. I was, before all the pandemic and stuff, I was like a diehard 5-string. Like I still have a 5-string, but I was like a 5-string player, active basses, and then it was kind of that like, all right, I've been chasing a tone my entire career, and then I realized like
it was just a P bass tone.
It was just a P bass. I'm like, all right, let's fucking play those. And
what kind of amp do you have?
I have a Fender Rumble 500 combo amp.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
I don't, and it's left the house in like the couple years I've owned it. It's left the house like 4 times.
Yeah.
Just
because most of the places you're going to play,
either they have a backline rig or they run in ears and they're like, just run direct.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I'm about to get a one of those Ampeg, the RB, excuse me, the rocket bass amps. Have you seen those? It's kind of like the answer to the Fender Rumble.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like a lightweight Ampeg combo.
Nice.
But I'm gonna get the 115. I love a fucking 15-inch speaker, dude.
Yeah.
That's my favorite shit.
Yeah, I wish my Fender had a 15 in it. It's got 2 10s.
Yeah.
And it does sound really good. And you can get, like, I love there's a button on it. There's like contour,
the vintage.
Yeah. I always put out the vintage setting on, and it kind of gives that fat, roundy kind of tone. But yeah, it's like, people are like, oh, why is that the only amp you have? I'm like, because like I don't. Everywhere
play downtown.
I play downtown mostly, or I'm in the studio, so pretty much direct.
Yeah.
Like the only thing the amp on stage downtown is doing is just vibrating my feet, so I have like that feel the air moving aspect. You know? Yeah. I used to be obsessed with amps, and now I'm like, I don't give a shit anymore. Eventually, like I do want to get, which a buddy of mine, he always is. Anytime he finds an Ampeg, what was it? The B15, the Jameson amp.
Oh yeah. And the Duck Dunn amp.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all those guys.
Yeah.
That was the studio amp in the 60s and 70s, and anytime he finds one, even if it's not in good shape and like or working, he'll like snatch it up.
Yeah.
And he'll get it working. He's just like, I've had these things for so long. I've figured out how to like fix most of it, or if not, I've got buddies who will come over and they'll get it right with the rain. I'm like, cool. So if I ever need one, you're the guy. He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. Because eventually I would love to get one of those, like for my home studio setup. If we ever move out of our place, which we bought the house before the bubble collapsed, so with our interest rate, we're like, we're not going anywhere for a while because this shit's getting paid off pretty good, and we're 15 minutes to downtown. All right, but yeah, I would love to have like a mic'd B15,
just the classic setup.
Yeah, and just be able to run that and a direct signal.
Have you seen those Acme boxes that are like the Motown?
Yeah.
I hear those are really cool too. I've never used one.
Yeah, I haven't tinkered with them. My buddy who he's an Ampeg artist, the one who collects the vintage amps. He was like, he's like, I think he's got a few of those and was telling me that they're really cool. And he's like, if not, he's like, if you ever want one, he's like, I have all the components for it. It just needs a housing. It just needs a box. So it won't officially be one, but it'll be all the,
It'll be the sound.
Yeah, it'll be the guts, and then just put it in a random, miscellaneous DI box. I was like, all right, cool. I mean, I'm pretty good right now. I've got a Fat Boy Tube DI that I love, which I need to get fixed. That's like they Tea Garden Audio is the company that owns them, and they like the Fat Boy, at least it has very much. It's just a tube DI, and it's got they call it the beef knob.
Yeah.
And it's a gain, to get that tube hot on the inside, and it just, I'm like, this is the most like vintage SVT sounding DI box I've ever heard, and I love it. But
that's badass.
It needs a little tender loving care from years of use. So I need to call those guys and get over there as soon as I can, or whenever I have the money to get that fixed.
You mentioned earlier when we were talking that you're using a big muff. Is it like a bass big muff, or is it like the classic big muff?
Yeah, it's the bass big muff. It's one of the micro versions, so it's smaller.
Oh yeah, like the nano. Yeah.
Like not necessarily. It's like the step. It's like the middle one, because there's like the really small one, this one, and then there's like the original big muff that it's like, why are you still making it that big?
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything. The only thing, I mean, it looks cool because it's got the giant knobs, but like, who fucking cares? No, I've had that thing for probably the last 5 or 6 years, maybe more. I got it used at Guitar Center for like $60.
Damn.
Yeah. And because I was like, I want to build a legit board with all this shit on it, and that never happened. I used to have a octa pedal on my board too, but that took a dump, and I just haven't replaced it because I would only really use that like when we get requests for like Miley Cyrus or something where I need like
sub bass.
Like I need a synth sound, but I don't want to use a synth pedal because I don't like the way the synth pedal sounds. But I found that using octave and a big muff creates like a very synth bass kind of tone.
When you put red and blue together, it makes purple.
Yeah, like it's perfect for like I want to dance with somebody. But
interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I just I was gonna build a big board, and I still have dreams and aspirations of doing all that, but I don't have the money or the time or the patience, really.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to put together a board really for the first time in my life. It's going to be a very minimalist setup. I'm going to put like the Boss tuner. I'm going to put a Sans amp on there.
Yeah.
I was telling you, I found a Sans amp that can do both like upright, because I have to get a pickup for my upright.
Yeah.
And then I'm maybe going to get some kind of distortion. Like I like big muffs, okay. Like I've owned a couple. Yeah. But I prefer more of grit versus fuzz.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Because I was feeling the same way for a while, but I figured out with the big muff for me, at least how to dial it in, where I'm like getting that aspect, but not like the woofy, fuzzy kind of thing.
I will say a Mustang bass with a fucking big muff sounds badass. But yeah, I might get a couple of things. I also am gonna get one of those M87, I think it's the M87, the MXR compressor.
Yeah. I forget. I don't know the model, but yeah, the white one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I figured that'll kind of get me started. But I've never really been a hardcore pedal guy, because I feel like
either.
A lot of pedals, the things that I don't like about it is it just takes too much away from the tone.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bass players that play pedals that I love, like the bass player Michael Schumann from Queens of the Stone Age. Yeah. Like he uses a lot of great effects.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like then there's also someone like the dude from Muse. Yeah. He has a great pedal board too. But what I don't like is like when it takes away from the actual. I can be playing really any bass for this. I'm like a controller basically.
Yeah. Well, and I think it depends obviously on the situation. Like those guys, that kind of music. Yeah, especially Muse, because it's a 3-piece band.
Yeah.
Like he has to have something going on, because it just helps fill out
the sound
and the space. Kind of creates some more sonic texture. And Yeah, I've never been a huge filter guy, but yeah, like growing up, I was a huge Chris Squire fan, and obviously he used a ton of different tones and stuff, and like, you know, all those guys, like, you know, minus like the session cats who are literally just like plugging straight into an amp or into a DI, you know. But it's fun to experiment in some ways, but like it's kind of like I don't have like, I was like, I want to get an envelope filter. I'm like, all right, well, when the fuck are you going to use that? You know, and I want to get this. Okay, but when are you going to use that? I'm like, let's keep it.
Well, unless you're writing the songs and including that stuff in it.
Yeah, like if it's an original thing,
Yeah, it's harder to have practical use when you're getting hired for a gig or you're just playing down on Broadway.
I like the Big Muff because like some of the stuff we do, like with my morning band, like we do Separate Ways by Journey. You know, and the bass, like on the intro and stuff, is at that ba 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 ba. Well, our guitar player is having a cover of the synth line on guitar, that dee doo dee doo, that little you know thing. So I throw that on because it just fills it out a little bit more, you know. And then like on top of it, we've been doing a lot of Allman Brothers and some Government Mule shit and stuff, and like so like whenever we play Whip and Post, I'll throw that on just because it just gives it a little grit, you know.
Gives it the stank.
Yeah. You know, I've also been using guitar picks a lot more, like over the last like year or two, which I used to be a diehard, like I had players that I looked up to who were pick users, but I myself was like a diehard, like, no, I'm never going to use a pick. And now I'm like, actually, this is kind of cool. You can do a lot of cool shit with a guitar pick.
You can.
That you can't do with fingers.
Yeah. Well, I've always been subscribed to, like, when I first started out, I was exclusively a pick player.
Yeah.
But, like, through my journey, there were years that I just used my fingers. And then I kind of, now I'm at a balance where it's like 50-50.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where it depends on the song.
Exactly. Like, you know, like.
Paul McCartney used a pick.
Yeah. Phil Lesh, Chris Squire, Barry Oakley from the Allman Brothers. What's his name? Alan Woody, the original bass player from Government Mule. They all
pick players.
Pick players. You know.
Joe, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Instagram at BRAH Birmingham. Yeah, that's pretty much mostly it. That's where Facebook I'm kind of keeping more for personal usage.
And then you're playing down at Nudies.
Playing at Nudies Wednesday through Sundays, 10 a.m. to 2. So if you want to get a hangover started or cure a hangover, we're the band to come see. And then Wednesday nights I'm at Casa Rosa, 6 to 10s. And then whatever else it is that pops up between here and there, you know, but those are kind of my set gigs a week. And then whatever else comes up, comes up. So
thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Keep on dreaming. See you next week.